Hi, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy listening. My 13-year-old niece giggled. Mom says, if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would notice. As I opened the $850 phone I'd bought her, all 30 of our guests laughed except me. I nodded and, with 2 taps, turned off all payments, credits, bills, subscriptions. Everything. That night, I moved out, cut off contact, and disappeared, leaving behind only a black backpack. Inside, they found. Mom says, if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would notice. My 13-year-old niece giggled as she peeled back the plastic film from the $850 phone I'd bought her. Her fingers were delicate, but her words were sharper than glass. Around us, the hubbub of my family pulsed in the living room. 30 voices, each one too loud, each one too careless. There was a birthday cake on the kitchen table, the candles not yet lit, but the flame already burning in my chest. My sister, Lindsay, didn't even look up. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, grinning, a tiny, satisfied smile, like a judge who'd just heard the verdict he'd been hoping for. My mother was in the kitchen, stirring something, pretending not to hear, but I saw her shoulders rise slightly, silent approval. My father. He didn't even try to hide it. He chuckled, raised his beer, and muttered, well, she's not wrong. Laughter rippled around the room. My cousin smirked, and even Uncle Gary, who barely knew me outside of the occasional family dinner, snorted into his drink. I stood there, just standing there, like a fool. Like the fool I'd always been. The one who paid. The one who fixed everything. The one who was never good enough. Thanks for the phone, Uncle, my niece chirped, already snuggled into my mother's side, her attention riveted on the glowing screen. I watched her. My heart was beating too loudly, my face was burning, and suddenly the room seemed smaller, stuffy. But I didn't say a word. I just nodded, because that's what I did. I nodded, I smiled, I pretended, I always pretended. Lindsay looked up. Finally, her eyes met mine. And in that moment, I saw something, a flicker of amusement, satisfaction, as if she'd been waiting for me to just stand there, speechless, humiliated. Okay, that's it, let's cut the cake, my mother's voice came, bright and cheerful, washing away the tension, but the taste of it lingered on my tongue, bitter and thick. I walked to the kitchen, leaning against the counter as they gathered around the table. Candles were lit, wishes were made, and I just watched, clenching my fists. My jaw clenched, and somewhere beneath the pain, something colder began to bloom. I felt my phone in my pocket. Just 2 taps, 2 quick taps, and every bill, every subscription, every line of credit I'd set up for them, for Lindsay, for Mom, for Dad, it was gone. My fingers moved without hesitation, like muscle memory, a decision I didn't even know I had until it was made. Everything. Just like that, the voices a distant hum. The room rocked around me, a sea of familiar faces that suddenly seemed foreign. They laughed, they rejoiced, they celebrated, and I wasn't there. Actually, I was a ghost with a purse, but I wasn't anymore. I slipped out without saying goodbye. No one noticed. Of course they didn't notice. The only thing my niece said right tonight. I didn't go home. I went straight to my apartment, packed a few essentials into a small duffel bag, and then came back. The black backpack was old, almost forgotten in the corner of my closet. But tonight it had a purpose. I filled it, but not with my things, not with what they expected. And then I came back. The house was still a noisy mess. No one noticed when I slipped inside, walked down the hallway, and left the backpack next to the stairs. And then I was gone. Really gone. By the time they noticed, I would be nothing more than a shadow. But inside that backpack, let them find it. Let them try to understand. The silence didn't last long. I expected panic, anger, but what I got was an explosion. It began the next morning. I woke up to the sound of a knock on the door of my apartment. No phone calls. No polite knocks, just fists pounding on wood. Open up. You think you can just do that? Dad's voice. Loud. Furious. I sat silent, watching the door shake as if it was about to come off its hinges. I know you're in there. You think you're smart? You think you're better than us? His voice broke, not just from rage, but from something else. Fear. I sat silent. I wasn't playing this game. Eventually, the knocking stopped. I heard his heavy footsteps retreating, a muffled curse on the thud of his car door. But it wasn't over. Far from it. 20 minutes later, my phone explodes. A text from Mom. Just one line. How could you do this to your family? I didn't answer. An hour later, Lindsay tried. This time it was a call. I watched her name flash across the screen and let the call go through. Then another and another. 6 calls in a row. Finally, a message. You think you're so smart? You think we can't live without you? Okay. Let's see how long you can last without your family. I read it and smiled. Was it supposed to be a threat or a promise? But the real storm broke that evening. I was just getting out of the shower when I heard the sound of a key in the lock. I froze. No one should have keys to my apartment. No one except. The door swung open. Dad burst in. Red with anger, sweat pouring down his forehead. Mom right behind him. Her eyes were wide and panicked. You think you can just lock me out? Dad barked. Go away, I said, my voice calm but cold. Go away. Go away. This is what you've become. Mom's voice was shrill, almost hysterical, abandoning her family. We raised you. You used me, I corrected, leaning against the kitchen counter, still drying my hair. There is a difference. Dad stepped closer, his fist clenched. You ungrateful little bully. Try it. The words were out before I could think. Calm, firm, challenging. His hand shook, but it didn't move. We both knew the truth. He wasn't a fighter. Never had been. He was a bully who hid behind words. Who screamed to hide his own fear. What did you do? Mom's voice broke. The cards aren't working. Lindsay can't pay the bills. The mortgage. Everything is gone. That's right, I nodded. Everything I paid for. Everything I managed. It's all over. Dad laughed, a bitter, joyless sound. Oh, you think you're so powerful? You think we need you? It looks like you're in need. I shrugged. Since you broke into my apartment to ask. Ask, he barked. You think we're asking? You think? That's enough, I cut him off abruptly, the words cutting through his tirade. That's enough. I'm done. Mom stepped forward, her hands outstretched. Please, this is your family. We're all we have. All you have, I corrected. I'm done being your safety net. Your stove. Your rug. Dad's face twisted. You're a little pain. I held up a finger. Leave now. You can't do this, Mom whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. That's cruel. Cruel. I laughed. Cruel is telling your son he's worthless while spending his money. Cruel is using me as a tool and laughing behind my back. Dad took another step forward, but I didn't flinch. This time he stopped. His shoulders slumped. You'll regret this, he muttered. You'll go back to crawling on your knees. No, I said, my voice like steel. They left, slamming the door behind them. But as I listened to their footsteps fade, I knew it wasn't over. The next day, they tried a different tactic. Lindsay showed up in my office. I saw her through the glass, her face pale, her eyes puffy from crying. My boss looked confused, then uncomfortable as she waved at me. I remained at my desk. Sir, there's a woman here. She's a nobody. I didn't even look up, but she didn't leave. I watched her talk to the receptionist, her voice rising, her hands shaking. Then security stepped in, ushering her out. I knew she'd be back. Another knock that night. My landlord. A little situation. He shifted awkwardly from foot to foot. Your family downstairs is making a scene. Tell them to leave, or I'll call the police. He blinked. But that's your family, no, I corrected. Not anymore, I watched through the window as they stood there, screaming, waving their arms, until finally the guards escorted them out. But I knew them. I knew their persistence. And I knew that somewhere in that house I had left behind, a black backpack was waiting to be opened. To see how far I was willing to go. The silence didn't last long. I knew them too well. The silence was just the calm before the storm. For days, I ignored their calls, their texts, their desperate voicemails. I even missed work, letting the world go, enjoying the silence. But I wasn't naive. I knew they wouldn't give in. It started with Lindsay's tantrums, the venomous messages blaming me for everything, followed by Mom's tearful voicemails, her voice breaking as she begged me to be a man and save the family. And then Dad came. At first it was rage, threats, insults, the usual noise. But then his tone changed. Calm, measured, an invitation. "Son, let's settle this like men. No drama, just you and me. There's a game this weekend. Our team is playing. Come over, let's talk." Ambush. I felt it in my bones. But I agreed. I wanted it. So I went. But when I saw the empty seats around him and the black backpack clutched in his hands, I knew I was right. They didn't want peace. They wanted control. But I wasn't the fool standing in that living room, nodding and smiling. Not anymore. The stadium roared like a living thing. The cheers, the screams, the slap of feet on the metal stands. It was chaos. The perfect place to drown secrets. Dad was waiting in Sector 12. Row F, the seats around him empty despite the game being packed. He spotted me instantly, waving with one hand, the other clutching a black backpack. My backpack. I walked down the steps, each step confident, my eyes fixed on him. He looked excited. A twisted smile played on his lips, like he thought he'd won something. "Surprised I called you," he called over the noise, patting the seat next to him. "Finally decided to have a man-to-man talk." "Huh? A man-to-man talk?" I settled into the seat, staring at the backpack in his lap. "Is that it?" "Oh, I think it's a little more than that." He leaned over, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "You thought you were so smart, huh? You ran away, cut off all ties. But you left a little present behind." His fingers drummed on the backpack. "We found it. And guess what, genius? We know." "Know what?" I asked, trying to keep my voice as calm as the cold wind that blew across the field. "Your secrets, your lies. You think you're pure? That you're better than us?" His voice sharpened. "You've been hiding something this whole time. I should have known. All those times you played the saint, some kind of savior." I almost laughed. "Then open it. Let's see what you think you know." Something between fear and anger flickered in his eyes. "Don't play games. I don't need to open it. I already know you've been stealing from us, manipulating us, pretending to be a good son, hiding your little stash." "Your stash." I leaned back, feeling the cold metal of the seat behind me. The only stash there was the truth. The crowd around us erupted when the home team scored. But in our little pocket of conflict, there was only silence and tension and shaking hands on the backpack. "You're bluffing," he muttered. "You're trying to make me doubt you, but it's over. We're going to tell everyone what kind of man you are, how you abandoned your family." "Go on," I nodded toward the field. "Tell them everything. Tell them how I paid Lindsay's rent for 2 years. How I covered your debts while you gambled away half your pension. How I bought that phone for your precious granddaughter, right before she told me I was nothing." His face darkened. "Shut up. No, let's get this straight, Dad. You have a bag full of evidence of everything I've done for you, and everything you've taken. And you still think you have leverage." His hand tightened around the backpack, his knuckles white. "Don't you dare talk to me like that." "What tone?" I leaned forward, my voice still calm, but my eyes blazing. "Like the useless piece of furniture you've always thought of me as. Like the walking wallet, errand boy." "Shut up," he shouted, standing up and drawing a few glances from the rows behind us. "Sit down." My voice was icy, and for a moment I saw it, the fear in his eyes. He hated me, but more than that, he was afraid of losing control. Or what? He forced out a laugh. But it was weak, desperate. What are you going to do? Attack your own father? Do you think anyone here is going to side with you? Do you really think they're going to side with you? I gestured at the crowd, the sea of strangers who didn't care about his charade. You're just an angry old man with a sack full of debts. And they don't know me, but they don't need to. His face twisted, his voice dropping to a snarl. You're selfish. Selfish. I smiled. I was your lifeline. And now you're drowning without me. He swung. I saw it coming. His hand, thick and shaking, aimed at my face. But I didn't move. I didn't flinch. He wanted a reaction, a scandal, proof that I was the villain in his story. But I just looked at him, calm, unblinking, and his fist stopped inches from my face, shaking. I should have left you in the street, he whispered, his voice shaking. You were always a parasite. Funny, I whispered back, leaning in so close I could smell the stale beer on his breath. That's exactly how I thought of you. Something broke in him. His hand dropped. His shoulders slumped. The cheers of the crowd were thunderous, the perfect cover for the crumbling of what was left of his pride. I reached out, grabbed the backpack, and yanked it out of his grip. He didn't even fight. You want to know what's in here? I asked, loud enough for the people around me to hear. Everything I've done for you, every penny, every sacrifice. People were looking now, some whispering, some pointing. Some even pulled out their phones. You want the truth? I unzipped my backpack, pulling out a thick stack of papers. Here it is. Proof of how I supported you, how I paid your bills, how I saved your house from eviction twice. His face went pale. And you want to talk about betrayal? I stood there, holding the papers high. You betrayed me the day you turned me into your personal ATM. The day you left when they told me I was nothing. Enough, he whispered, his voice quiet, his body slumping in the seat. No, you wanted a scene. Get it? I dropped the papers at his feet and they scattered, fluttering down the steps like fallen leaves. I turned, walking up the steps, past the staring faces, past the whispers. You can't just leave, he shouted, his voice breaking. But I didn't stop. I didn't look back. For the first time, his voice meant nothing. They never stopped trying. Not right away. The day after the stadium, the day Dad's pride expired on the cold metal seats, my phone started ringing like an alarm. Ring after ring. The messages came pouring in. Accusations, pleas, threats, a cycle of despair wrapped in their familiar voices. I ignored it all. Dad was the first to break. His calls went from furious to pleading in a matter of hours. We can talk about this. He lied. I'll forget. Let's be a family. But I didn't answer. Then it was Mom. Her messages were drenched in guilt. You're breaking our hearts. We didn't mean for this to happen. Family is all we have. I didn't even read them all. Lindsay tried after. Her messages were pure venom. You're a coward. A selfish, worthless coward. You ruined everything. Then, please, just talk to me. I didn't want this. I was afraid. Don't do this. But I did. Silence. That was my answer. That was my revenge. They didn't get it at first. They thought I was bluffing, playing some cruel game. But as the days turned to weeks, as the bills they once ignored started piling up, as their friends stopped taking sides, they finally understood. They couldn't reach me. Their landlord called me, stuttering, trying to explain that they hadn't paid their rent. I told him it wasn't my problem. Mom texted me a picture of the family sitting in the dark, a single candle flickering on the table. We had nothing left. I deleted it without looking. One night, as I was walking back from the grocery store, I saw him, Dad, standing outside my building, pacing like a madman. His face was pale, his hands were shaking, that familiar fire in his eyes had been replaced by something else. Fear. He saw me, his face lit up with distorted hope. He lunged forward. Look, you can't do this. You're my son. No, I haven't slowed down. I was your wallet. He stood in front of me, his voice breaking. We raised you. We gave you everything. You used me. I looked him straight in the eyes. And now you have nothing. I tried to step around him, but his hand shot out, grabbing my arm. You can't do this. His voice was a snarl, the old anger bubbling to the surface. Do you think you're better than us? Do you think you can just walk away? I know I can. I wrenched my hand free and I walked away. He swung at me, slow, weak. I didn't even flinch. His fist slid across my shoulder, more of a desperate push than a blow. He stumbled back against the side of the building, gasping for breath. Pathetic. The words came out like a sigh. His face twisted, that familiar anger flaring. You'll come back crawling. You always do. You're nothing without us. I laughed loudly, harshly. It echoed down the quiet street. I was nothing with you, I said, turning my back. I was gone. I didn't look back. That night, I threw my phone in the bottom drawer of my desk and left it there. The messages, the missed calls, they piled up, but they couldn't touch me. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, shaky. Mom, please. Your dad is getting sick. Lindsay is going crazy. We are breaking up. You are the only one who can fix this. Please come home. I crumpled it up before I finished reading it. They were breaking up. Good thing, because for the first time I wasn't. I wasn't moving. I wasn't changing my number. I wasn't hiding. I stayed where I was, but I was no longer a part of their world. And their world collapsed without me. Lindsay's friends stopped returning her calls. Mom's distant relatives, the ones who used to send polite Christmas cards, were now ignoring her. Dad lost his temper at work too many times and got fired. But I didn't care. I didn't watch. I lived. I cooked my own meals, slept soundly, went for long walks without worrying about the incoming messages demanding my time, my money, my life. They were just voices now. The ghosts I'd left in the burning house, and I was free. Months passed, and the silence became a friend. I woke up when I wanted, ate without guilt. Spent weekends exploring the city I'd once ignored, feeling free in every quiet minute. Sometimes I find myself waiting for the familiar buzz of desperate messages, the suffocating guilt, the frantic voice demanding that I fix their chaos. But it never happened. I did the impossible. I buried them. Not in the ground, but in my life. I was walking down Main Street one crisp fall morning, past the coffee shop where I bought expensive cakes for Lindsay's birthday. The boutique where I spent a fortune on gifts. The restaurant where I paid for family dinners. Where I was always so generous, until I wasn't. Ghosts. Just ghosts. On the corner, a busker played a slow, painful tune. His voice was rough. His fingers danced over the strings. A voice that didn't try to be perfect, just honest. I stood there, letting the music wash over me. It wasn't about love. It wasn't about a broken heart. It was about letting go. The world moved around me, busy and alive. I stood still, breathing it in. When the song was over, I dropped $20 into the open guitar case. The busker nodded, and I smiled. Not because I had to, not because anyone expected it, but because I wanted to. And that made a difference. I didn't need them. I never had. I walked, and every step was lighter, every breath freer. As the sun sank behind the rooftops, painting the sky amber and crimson, I felt it, a quiet certainty. I was free.